So, due to our house fire causing the loss of two of my most prized reptiles, one of them, a young Cebalese celebensis locality Asian water monitor baby, that was absolutely stunning. Something that's been, if you like, a replacement is this ordinary looking, much more ordinary looking baby Asian water monitor. Just shedding her skin at the moment. She's already growing lots and getting a lot tamer. Those of you that remember the gorgeous little celebensis bright yellow spots, just terrific. Much more beautiful than maybe this one, but hopefully the personality will shine through. welcome back to the channel, and probably part one of what will be an updated series, but something very marmitey, very much on the fence. Captive, reared, no, farmed, very close to wild caught Asian water monitors. If you're on any of the forums, you talk to anyone that keeps and breeds these animals, you will know, quite rightly so really, that captive bred, genuinely, whether it's in Europe, the UK or the US, wherever, from captive stock, especially that are already captive bred, makes for not a domestic animal, nowhere near, but a much more pliable baby water monitor, something that'll tame down and become much more tractable from the off. If the breeders handle them regularly from hatching and so on and so forth, they've had no negative trauma in their lives, of course they're going to be much better captives, 100 times better proposition for you to take on as a pet if you want one to become tame as a pet with minimal stress to either of you. However, I have, like many people, bought a wild farmed Asian water monitor, so take all your opinions aside, or not, comment below. But this is really a little bit of a journey, and I hate that saying, but a bit of a journey of what you can achieve, what you can't achieve, things to think about, who to listen to, who knows what they're saying, and warts and all, as everything with my channels, warts and all. So, one came available, a stunningly beautiful, really small Celebensis, a real young baby, probably not far off hatchling, Celebensis Asian water monitor. Absolutely stunning. Beautiful, bright markings. A guy was getting rid of his collection of black monitors, green tree monitors, and a Celebensis. And it came with a 6x2x2 Viv, all singing, all dancing, lighting, heating, thermostats, and so on. And the price was ridiculously availably sort of cheap at the end of the day. So I bought that animal. It was as bad as it could possibly be when it comes to getting wild caught or wild farmed animals. This animal would have been traumatized by humans, had nothing but negativity. And unfortunately, the guy was keeping it on the floor. The Viv was on the floor. It was the bottom of a stack. So dogs and people, it was just seeing that kind of, the worst kind of them, you know, towering above, moving by. It was in an oversized Viv, really overly decorated, if you like. So it just lived in fear and hid all the time. It was quite easy to pick up, and it would never eat anything unless it had been left completely alone for quite a while. So as bad as you could get for a starting point of that kind of lizard. A lot of work needed, feeding off forceps, a distant thought, and quite a picky feeder, because it would only eat if it felt totally safe, no matter where the food was put. Before I could do a lot with that animal, unfortunately we had a house fire. Now the fire didn't affect anything to do with a reptile room apart from smoke, so all the animals were pulled out or put down low. When it came to repatriating them, obviously it sounds horrible, I've got bigger stresses in my head. The back of my house was burnt, stupidly, and as easily done, and we've all probably done this if you've kept enough reptiles, especially snakes. I didn't quite shut the Viv door, and a blooming thing escaped. So the next day after a fire, the fire was on Boxing Day of all times, the lizard escaped. Now there's a fully insulated room, but there's a service point where electricity and pipe work runs into the ceiling. I would imagine that's where it went. Never saw it again. If it got into a flat ceiling in the winter above the insulation, it would have simply got cold and died. So really unfortunate ending to that poor animal's life. That's it, done. Not having any more water monitors. As we do, a bit like you ladies that say you're never having another child, giving birth again. Another one came along. Now, this one is the larger race, captive farmed from a very, very large, well-known reptile outlet in the UK. It came couriered here as a hatchling, already a different animal. Yes, absolutely like to hide, but would be out and about and active, and would hide when it saw me. Would eat regularly, food left in there when I wasn't there, but it would eat straight away. It would always freeze if it saw me. It would freeze if I opened a vivarium. It would never tongue flick. It wouldn't be interested in any food apart from when I'd left it well alone. The difference was this animal has eaten from the off well, just when it felt there was nothing going on. I put it in the viv, even though you're probably a bit large. I think half the size of viv would have been ideal, 3x2x2, with very sparse decorations. So the hollow logs, and obviously if you're into your Asian water monitors, you know these aren't my idea, but these work really well. The animal can kind of hide, but you can see it, and it can kind of see you as well, rather than secreting itself away. All baby reptiles, more or less, snakes especially, they're programmed to be terrified and hide and not come out just out in the open. They're all massive targets to so many predators. It's natural for them to want to hide when they're small and be scared, but you can overdo that by providing way too much hidey holes, so they're never exposed to seeing you at all. They need to sort of see you and see you regularly, that you're not always about to catch them. Just think about their psychology in the wild and how they're programmed to set up, to be set up in life. This one's eaten. Then we've had disasters. We had 2 disasters. Let me swap you around and tell you, it's like the worst ever luck or judgment you could have with 2 baby water monitors. Okay, so this vivarium came to me with a Celebensis. It was brand new, pretty much brand new, everything. A new lizard for the guy, a new setup. He was just decided to get rid of everything. The ventilation hole on the left and the cover, the white circle, is designed to fit the drilled out holes in the enclosure. It's got several of these, these white ventilation holes. However, where that black cover is, they must seriously have run out of the same size grills and fitted a slightly smaller one. Who would know? That wasn't a snug fit. You would never know with any animal, but the intelligence and the activity and the high metabolic rate of these water monitors, the lizard had been scratching and pulling. It pulled one of the slightly smaller grill off, and it escaped, and it was living wild in the reptile room for quite some time. In fact, it was being fed, it had heating and water, and I could see it every day, but it would always keep hiding in places I couldn't reach. One day it fell asleep with its tail hanging out on show, and as their tails don't come off, I managed to gently retrieve him back in. So the grill at the back there was fitted on, thickly siliconed on. To me, job done. Nope. He got it off again. 2 months later, honest to God, he escaped again. But second time around, he got into that service port and he got out the flat roof, out under the tiles of the house. Unbeknown to me, he walked along the guttering, down the downpipe, and he spent the day sunbathing on a low outside retaining wall between myself and my neighbour. At 8:30 at night, twilight, neighbour knocked on the door because I'd been out at work all day. And he said, "Dave, I think one of your pets has escaped." "Oh, was it a lizard? Quite big?" "Yes." It's watched me all day, but I didn't know what to do. I went, "Oh, damn it. Well, it'll be gone now. Be gone now." And we're talking away. It's twilight. I'm just scanning around as he's pointing to where it was. And I saw the end of his tail hanging out the bottom of the downpipe to the guttering. He's intelligent enough to go back up from whence he came, but obviously nothing to grip on the way up, and he'd gone to sleep. It had cooled down. I retrieved him again. Honestly, I can't believe the bad luck, but that amount of good luck at the same time. Hence the things are now patched up and completely double checked. But this guy's eaten well. He's eaten well, and he's, tripled in length, I should say. Now he'll stay out when he sees me. He'll still freeze, and he's always done that. He'll freeze. I'll open the vivarium door. I'll talk to him, and so on and so forth. But we've just got this week, and it's why I'm making this video, because we're at a sort of a turning point to end the video, I guess. But he's now at the stage, if I offer food on 4 steps, his tongue will flick for the first time in my presence, and he'll take food from the forceps. So we're really getting somewhere with this guy now. Those setbacks when I've had to catch him twice, think of the psychology of that animal. You're catching it, you're restraining it. In one instance, it bit me. You're just going back to basic and bottom of the rung of the ladder. You're now scaring that animal, putting it straight back into prey mode. It's the prey and you're the predator. You've got to build up all that really tiny, slow one trust. Completely different. True captive bred, handled by the breeder, especially from captive bred stock. You've got an animal you can handle and will crawl all over you from the off. Can be a very, very different prospect. Which is best, spending 5 to 10 times, here in the UK, 5 to 10 times the price maybe, but getting a captive bred one. I'm going to try and make this video about it can be achieved, but why it's silly to buy wild found or captive found animals. Anyway, he's growing, he's eating well. What do I feed him? He gets trout, he gets salmon, he gets day-old cockerels, he gets mice. He actually gets also once a week a little bowl of Purina kitten food, because that's got various, it's a balanced diet for cats. It's got various things in there that I'm thinking probably supplemental to his diet. He eats anything, hard-boiled eggs, you guys know, he eats anything, but he gets a good, healthy, balanced diet, and he's doing well on it. He has got UV, whether they need it, that's a debate for something else, but he's got all singing, all dancing, lighting and electrics. A key point to this video, to me that's key, this is how I've worked with a lot of young animals that are frightened. I've just handled them in short doses, handled them to death, exposed them to anything, never scream or flinch when I've bitten or scratched, just carried on handling them. We call it spudderizing in this house. There's a reason for that. It belongs to the name of a hamster from my son had many years ago, but sort of gently mauled them to death, and it's actually usually worked. Ultra fast way of getting an animal totally tamed down. Ridiculous. It's almost overstimulated and overexposed to the environment and the people and the handling that it just absorbs it really, really quickly. And I can tell you now, it's worked for so many different animals, from eagles to hamsters to snakes and lizards. Maybe a topic for another day. And that's how I would have proposed to carry on with this water monitor. I would have just got him out, handled him and mauled him to death. But the Asian water monitor groups on Facebook, the experts on there really venomously say a very different approach is needed. What I love about keeping animals and studying the natural world is it never gets boring. There's always stuff to learn. And I thought, okay, there's a lot of strength in their arguments. It's not your usual social media, well, I do it this way, we do it that way. The guys that keep and breed them seem very strongly opinionated. That is no way to go. Don't force handle them. Just let them see you regularly, get them feeding off forceps when they will, and gradually get them used to your presence, using food, a bit like you would with falconry, as your bribe, as your trust mechanism. Look, I don't come to eat you, I come to offer you food. I'm just nothing but a positive thing. There's no negativity here at all from me. It's all positive. And I thought, okay, I'll hang fire, we'll go down that route. We're months in, but without doubt, despite twice having to catch him and set myself snakes and ladders all the way down the bottom of the ladder, we're really achieving. The fact this week he's now taking food off 4 steps after months, but because he's already growing and he's healthy and he's active and he's happy without my presence sort of around him too much, we're much better ahead than the original one. And when the fact is now tongue flicking at long last, when I'm offering him food, taking the food and eating it. It started with him grabbing the food off the forceps, and as soon as I moved to shut the viv, spitting it out and hiding. He's like, oh no, he's there. But we're now getting somewhere. So I would say go down the route from the experts. Don't force handle your young water monitor. Just be around it. Just be nothing but positive and calm. Let it see you putting food in, and then get it tongue feeding, forceps feeding. Even if it kills you to have months of patience, definitely go down that route. It's working. It's slow, but it's positive. And I can say we're getting somewhere now. So I will report back. Let me just spin you around, tell you a bit about how his enclosure's set up. So although a little bit large for a young nervous monitor, it's worked out okay, kept out practical and sparse. A water bowl that I can just literally lift out, change the water deep enough to cover his back when he's in there, changed almost daily, because the great thing is that's where he does his poo. So the vivarium stays pretty clean, because when it stays very clean, because all the muck goes in there. Just make sure you clean it daily. It's their drinking water too. And we've got, what have we got there? I'll open it now, but we've got temperature and humidity. We're at 60% more or less. I don't fuss too much about it in the UK. It's pretty humid compared to some parts of the world. He does get sprayed down regularly, but certainly not daily. He's got good bright lighting. If you go to anywhere Asian water monitors live and you're not under a rainforest canopy, they'll be out. They'll be near the lakes, the rivers, the seashore, rainforest edge. You are talking very hot, very humid, and very bright. I've been there. I can tell you that now. It is hot, it is humid, it is sunny where you see them. Koya cocoa chip husk, because when it gets dragged into the water bowl, unlike a sand and especially soil mix, it's a much cleaner substrate to work with, and it doesn't harbour bacteria like a soil mix that's wet does. And we've got hollow logs for him to hide in. And this one here, hold on a second. Well, it was lined up directly under the two heat lamps. One gives off heat only, one light as well, so we can get a full-on basking spot. That's going to be changed very soon, but I don't want to go backwards at all yet. That's going to be changed for a ceramic kind of tile full length under those heat lamps, propped up on bricks. But for now, don't want to disturb him anymore as we go. So it's working out. He's very active in there. He's got plenty of room. He's pretty long. How long will this last him? Well, it's not going to be to size. He could go in a bigger, much bigger enclosure now when it comes to activity levels, but we're just going to set ourselves back, make him more nervous, make him feel like hiding more. He has got a much larger enclosure, well, not halfway built. The materials are all there in the reptile room, and that's going to be 7 foot tall, 4 foot wide, and 3 foot deep. And from there, he's going to end up having probably a massive portion of the reptile room himself. But we shall see. Simple enclosure. Definitely go down this route. Really works well. You can tongue feed through there. You can see them and they can see you. They've got a security blanket in place. So feel free to judge in time-honoured social media way. And I'll update you guys with this animal's progress when it comes to taming down a wild found or captive found. I don't want to keep saying wild found, because they're from wild caught adults, really, the eggs. A captive farmed Asian water monitor, is it the route to go down? Definitely not. Anyone that's brought a young farmed water monitor, wild caught, inverted commas, in brackets, they're pretty much the same thing, that's got onto social media and seen the guys and gals working with true captive bred animals in their own sort of part of the world, they're envious and they're jealous and they're wishing that they actually did the right thing and they brought true captive bred stock, because they're worlds apart, not just at the beginning, probably the beginning, the middle, and maybe quite close to the end. Different animals indeed. We're going down the ultra patient route. At the end of the day, working with an animal that's nervous and worried and a bit stressed isn't as nice for either of you. It's working with an animal that's got no fear of humans really, and it's content and hasn't been abused by humans. It hasn't been grabbed, caught, that kind of thing. As when I started keeping reptiles, all the snakes and animals had. They've been caught probably quite brashly, abruptly, quite unpleasantly. So they had not just an innate fear of being the prey item when they're small, they just didn't like humans. The smell of them, the sight of them was all associated with a negative, bad experience. True captive breeding, we don't have any of that. Nevertheless, I'll keep you posted, guys.